The Galactic soldiers gathered like a wall of armor and arrogance beneath the glow of the broadcast domes, their scaled skin catching the light of a dying star. Every lens in the galaxy was aimed at the arena, silver, curved, and vast enough to hold the pride of 50 worlds. Billions watched, their translators humming as 1,000 species murmured about the same thing. The human. He stood alone at the center. Commander Jack Cole, age 38, Navy SEAL, Earth, the only being in the arena without armor. He wore a crisp dark blue uniform, sleeves rolled up once, boots polished, and a faint smile that made the cameras linger too long. His hair was regulation short, and his posture suggested indifference more than bravery. To the galactic audience, he looked unimpressive, just another mammal in a galaxy ruled by titans. The announcer's voice boomed through the translation fields, echoing in every dialect. Welcome, citizens of the collective. Today, we witness the demonstration of dominance between the undefeated Krogan warrior, Sergeant Cthor, and the Terran. Pause. A ripple of laughter from the Krogan seats. Jack tilted his head, almost politely, as the 9-foot alien across from him stomped forward. Cthor's armor clanked like a cathedral bell. Each movement exuded mass and purpose. His face, reptilian and lined with ritual scars, twisted into a grin that could peel bone. Human, he said, the words stretched by his translator into something that sounded like a growl. I will make it quick. Jack nodded. Appreciate that. Got a dinner reservation. A few alien commentators chuckled, the polite kind of laugh one gives a doomed fool. Others scoffed, tails flicking, mandibles clacking. To them, humor before battle was an admission of fear. Yet Jack's heart rate barely moved. He rolled his shoulders, stretching one arm, the faintest pop echoing through his mic. The crowd noise was a living thing, hundreds of species murmuring in disbelief that the fragile biped didn't even wear armor. The air shimmered with heat and dust from the lights. Above them, banners of the collective fluttered, bright emblems of dominance, self-assured and ancient. Inside the broadcast booth, commentators of 10 species competed to frame the moment. Observe the human's primitive stance, hissed a Fesk observer. Note the lack of defensive carapace, another added. One human correspondent, a reporter from Earth's Interstellar Bureau, murmured into his mic. And yet, he looks bored. Jack's internal HUD blinked once in his contact lens. Heartbeat, muscle tension, oxygen saturation. Steady. He heard the faint hum of the arena generators and the sizzle of Cthor's weapon, a plasma spear almost as long as a shuttle. The tip hissed with molten promise. You may pray to your tiny gods now, Cthor rumbled. Jack smiled softly. Already did. They told me to stretch first. Somewhere in the human broadcast feed, a meme was born. Millions laughed back on Earth, chat streams lighting up. They told me to stretch first. Legendary. The aliens didn't get it. Humor wasn't a weapon in their wars. The signal countdown began. 10 glowing orbs descending in the air like burning stars. The energy field shimmered around them. Jack's fingers flexed once, his breathing slower than a heartbeat. Cthor lowered his spear. His muscles rippled under scaled plates. The audience leaned forward as 1, 3, 2, 1. The impact of Cthor's charge shook the arena. His mass tore through the dust like a meteor. Cameras struggled to follow. Jack didn't move until the very last second. Then, one step to the side, a pivot, his palm slicing through the alien's forearm joint like a surgeon. The sound, wet and metallic, ripped through the hush. Gasps erupted across the galaxy. The commentators stuttered, translators glitching. Cthor screamed, less from pain, more from disbelief. No creature smaller than him had ever reacted that fast. Jack exhaled, calm. Guess that dinner'll be early. He moved with precise brutality, not strength but geometry. Every motion came from habit carved by a lifetime of underwater warfare, zero-gravity raids, and dark places where seconds mattered. He didn't fight the alien. He dismantled him methodically, almost politely. When Cthor collapsed, his weapon clattering into silence, Jack crouched beside him. You good? he asked quietly, as if checking on a teammate. You fought hard. He offered his canteen. The gesture rippled louder than the fight itself. Billions of viewers saw mercy where they expected blood. The Krogan soldiers stood in silence. Even their emperor's jaw clenched. It was not dominance, it was insult. The broadcast flickered as officials whispered in confusion. What was that technique? Did the human poison him? He just broke his arm. No weapon. Jack stood, brushing dust from his uniform. He didn't raise his arms or cheer. He just nodded once toward the alien crowd, a soldier acknowledging soldiers. Then he looked up, right into the hovering camera drone, and smiled. Earth thanks you for the hospitality, he said. Lovely place. Bit warm, though. The feed exploded in mixed chaos. Laughter, outrage, panic. Alien anchors scrambled for words. The Fesk commentator hissed, primitive savagery disguised as civility. Another whispered, trembling, no, that was discipline. In the command box above the arena, the Galactic Emperor leaned forward. His 6 eyes blinked in disbelief. End the broadcast, he ordered softly. End it now. But the signal was global. Every relay mirrored every frame. The image of a human smiling in the dust of victory spread faster than command protocols could contain. Memes, propaganda, rumors. In the human embassy, deep in the capital ring, diplomats exchanged looks of unease. The senior attaché muttered, he was supposed to lose gracefully. The comms officer replied, Sir, when has a Navy SEAL ever done anything gracefully? Meanwhile, Jack walked back toward the exit gate, boots crunching on the sand. Security drones hovered nervously. They didn't know whether to escort or aim. Reporters shouted in 50 languages. He ignored them. The fight wasn't the point. The reaction was, through his earpiece, a human voice crackled from orbit. Commander, package delivered? Jack's smile thinned. Affirmative. They saw what they needed to see. Copy that. Proceed to Phase 2 on signal. He stepped into the tunnel as the roar of the crowd faded behind him. Anger, confusion, all mixing like a storm. For a moment he looked almost weary. He paused at the archway, gazing at his reflection in the polished steel wall. Just a man. Just another soldier. Yet the eyes staring back were calm and calculating, like someone who had already counted the bodies that would fall if the spectacle turned into war. Outside, Galactic media replayed every second, dissecting his movements, debating physics and ethics. Some called him a monster. Others called him a myth. The Emperor held a private meeting that same hour. Advisors shouted for retaliation, for immediate containment of Earth. They are unstable. They hide power behind jokes. They will be our undoing. But no one noticed the quiet notification that flashed across the secure network. A signal sent from Jack's biometric implant. Transmission complete. Encrypted payload dispersed across 20 star systems. Human networks called it a test. The galaxy would one day call it the opening shot. In a dim corridor beneath the arena, Jack stopped, tilting his head as if listening to the distant hum of the broadcast still, echoing through the cosmos. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "Let them laugh for now." A door hissed open. The lights dimmed behind him. He disappeared into shadow, leaving a single muddy footprint where he'd stood, human, ordinary, and utterly terrifying in what that meant. Above, the galaxy replayed his smile again and again, never realizing that while they argued, Earth had already moved its pieces into place. The broadcast wasn't just the beginning of a fight. It was the signal that the game had changed. And somewhere, unseen in the black between stars, something vast and silent stirred, listening. The dust had not yet settled when the galaxy replayed the footage in disbelief. The arena, once deafening, now lay under a silence so heavy it seemed to press against the walls. Thor, the undefeated Krogan, slayer of champions, was on his knees, breath ragged, clutching a limp arm that no one believed could ever break. The cameras stayed fixed on him as if the universe itself couldn't look away. The human, Commander Jack Cole, had already turned his back. The official signal came through. Match suspended pending review. The translation rippled across 100 worlds, but every species understood the same thing: embarrassment. The Krogan Empire had just been humiliated by something soft-skinned and small enough to fit inside one of their ceremonial armor shells. Jack paused halfway through the exit tunnel, as if waiting for something inevitable. He heard the boots before he saw them. Security detail, 8 of them, armor gleaming like molten silver. Their rifles were raised but not aimed. Not yet. "Commander Cole," said the lead officer, her voice crackling through a translator. "The Council requires your presence for verification." Jack turned slowly, hands loose at his sides. Verification of what? Gravity still works the same way, right? The translator hesitated, searching for tone. It rendered his words as something between a smirk and a threat. The officer's throat ridge trembled, a Krogan gesture of unease. The corridors beneath the arena smelled of ozone and disinfectant, humming with power conduits. Each light panel flickered faintly as the broadcast replayed on hidden feeds. The galaxy's chatter grew louder, filling the silence between each footstep. Chorus moan echoed faintly behind them, broadcast for every world to hear. How? No one answered. Not yet. Inside the Council observation deck, the glass curved in a perfect hemisphere, looking down at the arena now empty except for the stains of disturbed sand. A dozen ambassadors surrounded a floating hologram of the fight, each pausing the feed, analyzing angles, trying to find logic where none existed. "He anticipated the charge before movement began," said a Trell governor, his 4 eyes wide. "Impossible reflex latency." "Impossible for you," murmured a smaller voice, a human delegate in a modest gray suit, smiling faintly. When Jack entered, the air changed. Conversations died. The Krogan Emperor's proxy turned his gaze toward him, each of his 3 pupils dilating. "You crippled our champion before the first strike landed. Explain." Jack's voice was steady, casual. "Leverage. Elbow over center of mass. Physics did the rest." A murmur spread through the room, equal parts fascination and fear. The human delegate spoke softly, almost kindly. "You wanted a demonstration, Your Excellency." He provided one. Thor was brought in on a hover stretcher then, his body trembling from the shock compound. His armor had to be cut away. When his eyes found Jack's, they flickered with confusion. Not hatred. Respect. "I have fought on 47 worlds," the Krogan rasped. "None ever smiled." Jack crouched beside him. "Most of us smile when we're scared," he said quietly. "But I wasn't." The cameras caught it all. Every word, every glance. The broadcast had resumed against Council orders, rerouted by some unknown signal path. Across the galaxy, trillions watched as something shifted in the air between predator and prey. Then came the second order from the Emperor's proxy, sharper, colder. "Restrain him." Jack didn't move. The guards approached, weapons raised. One of them reached for his shoulder. An instant later, the guard's rifle clattered to the floor, dismantled into 8 precise pieces. No one saw how. The movement was too small, too fast. Jack exhaled. "Please don't touch me." He stood in silence for a heartbeat, eyes flicking toward the camera drone that hovered above. He could see his own reflection in the lens, the same faint smile, perfectly polite, perfectly wrong for the moment. "Commander," the human delegate murmured. "Perhaps a demonstration of restraint?" Jack's grin tilted. "Already doing that." The Krogan Emperor's proxy slammed a clawed hand against the console. "You mock us." "No, sir," Jack said, his tone calm, reverent almost. "If I were mocking you, you'd know." Laughter rippled through a few alien diplomats before they realized it wasn't supposed to be funny. Then the broadcast screens flickered, images cut from the arena to Earth. Soldiers training underwater. Humans jumping from aircraft into storms. Firefighters running into collapsing buildings. Moments of defiance stitched into the feed, silent but devastating. Alien viewers stared, transfixed. The human race wasn't built for power, it was built for persistence. For madness disguised as courage. A Varian scholar whispered what many were beginning to realize. They don't fight to win. They fight to survive. That's worse. The Emperor's proxy demanded the feed be cut. It wouldn't. Every attempt at override failed. The signal had gone distributed. Every human ship, every listening outpost, every phone on Earth rebroadcasting it in endless loops. Jack adjusted his collar. "Well," he said to the council, "looks like you're trending." Silence. The alien guards stepped back. No one wanted to touch him now. He turned toward the window again. Outside, the Krogan ships drifted like frozen mountains against the stars. "You all wanted to measure humanity," Jack murmured, almost to himself. "Now you've got your baseline." The human delegate's comm device buzzed once. She glanced down, lips tightening. "Commander," she said softly. "Phase 2 confirmed." Jack nodded faintly. "Copy that." Then, to the council, "Permission to leave? You're not free to go," the proxy growled. Jack looked at him. Steady, polite, unblinking. "I'm afraid I already did." He walked out through the glass doors that hissed open before anyone could react. The guards followed but slowed as if the air around him grew heavier. Outside the chamber, alien journalists swarmed like wasps. "Is humanity declaring war? Was this planned? Do you have weapons hidden on Earth?" Jack smiled at them all. "Ma'am, I'm just a guy who didn't want to miss dinner." He kept walking until the corridor bent into darkness. The cameras lost him for a few seconds. When they regained signal, the feed caught a shadow slipping into the service elevator, and for a split second, just one, the view flickered to black as though something had jammed the system. When it came back, the human was gone. In the control hub above the arena, alarms began to sound. Unauthorized transmissions, encrypted Terran frequencies, unknown protocols embedding themselves into the galactic relay. The technicians shouted in confusion. This wasn't a hack, it was synchronization. On Earth, across time zones, lights dimmed. Satellites blinked awake, forming a silent halo around the planet. Nobody said a word on the news feeds. The images spoke for themselves. Thor, watching from his stretcher, felt something colder than pain creep through his chest. He remembered that calm voice saying, "They told me to stretch first." He realized, finally, that the fight had never been a contest. It had been a calibration. The human delegate stood before the council, now trembling with arguments and fear. "You wanted proof of Earth's military potential," she said, her voice soft. "Consider yourself educated." The Emperor's proxy hissed. "You dare threaten the collective?" She smiled, a small, tired human smile. "No, just clarifying what you started." Jack's signal reappeared briefly on the main monitor. He was aboard a shuttle now, calm, looking out at the stars. He had no weapon visible, no armor, no fury, just quiet purpose. "Broadcast that," he said. "All channels." The technicians hesitated. Then the screen flickered again, and every planet, every moon, every station saw the same man looking calmly into the camera. 5 minutes, he said softly, is a long time when you're thinking about what happens next. Then the signal cut. The Krogan soldiers in the arena began to move again, their instinct for violence returning. The Emperor's proxy barked orders, but the panic spreading through the data systems was faster than any army. Something vast and invisible was unfolding through their networks, something old, human, and planned. In a small outpost at the edge of the ring, a young alien technician whispered to his superior, "Sir, what did he mean by 5 minutes?" The superior's scales twitched. "He meant that whatever we saw in the arena," he swallowed hard, "was just the warm-up, and somewhere beyond the broadcast range, unseen but listening, the Earth's first orbital fleet rotated silently toward its marks. Ancient ships refitted, systems pulsing alive after decades of quiet. The timer began. 5 minutes. The galaxy trembled in whispers. Every broadcast, every feed, every holoscreen replayed the same image. Jack Cole, smiling beside the broken Krogan champion, calm as if violence were a conversation. What was supposed to be a show of alien superiority had turned into a human myth in the making. And myths, history had learned, were the most dangerous contagions. The Galactic Council convened within the Imperial Spire, a tower of glass and gravity-woven alloys orbiting the twin suns of Darcy's prime. From above, it looked serene, a monument to diplomacy. Inside, it throbbed with chaos. Ambassadors from 100 worlds shouted over each other in 12 languages, demanding answers that no one had. How did a species of water-breathers defeat a Krogan? A scaled minister screeched. Where are the Terrans now? Why aren't they answering our transmissions? Are they hiding weapons? We need immediate sanctions. The uproar broke when the doors opened. A soft chime signaled the arrival of Earth's delegation. They walked in without haste, as though arriving for afternoon tea. At their head was Ambassador Lyra Chun, half smile, half shadow, and eyes that could read the emotional temperature of a room like a radar. Behind her, Commander Jack Cole followed, wearing the same neatly pressed uniform, his demeanor unbothered, his hands clasped behind his back. Every gaze fell upon him, the soldier who had rewritten the definition of fear. The alien guards flinched unconsciously as he passed, unsure whether to salute or hide. Commander Cole. The Emperor's voice rumbled through the hall, translated into every known tongue. The collective demands clarification. Your display has destabilized 3 sectors. Explain yourself. Jack paused beside Lyra's shoulder, gaze steady. Clarification? Certainly, Your Majesty. Which part? Physics or psychology? The room stiffened. Lyra's lips barely twitched. What my colleague means, she said smoothly, is that Earth regrets the disturbance. Commander Cole acted in demonstration, not defiance. The Emperor leaned forward, his 6 jeweled eyes narrowing. Demonstration? He broke the arm of a Krogan war hero. Jack exhaled softly. With permission, sir. It was already fragile. The hall fell into silence. Somewhere, a diplomat coughed to hide a laugh and immediately regretted it. Lyra pressed onward. Humanity joined the collective in good faith. We've abided by every law, paid every tariff, and endured every insult. Her tone sharpened just slightly on the last word. We ask that this incident be seen not as aggression, but as education. The Emperor's eyes glinted. And what lesson did you mean to teach? Jack's voice was quiet, almost gentle. That we adapt quickly. It wasn't a threat, but it hung in the air like one. Every alien present felt it, an undertone, a vibration older than diplomacy. The silence stretched until the Emperor finally gestured, dismissive. You will submit all Terran military data for verification. Lyra's smile didn't waver. Of course, though I must remind the Council that Terran defense protocols are classified under interstellar law. Then your world will be quarantined. Jack stepped forward before she could answer. That'd be a mistake, sir. Not because of what we do, but because of what your people would see. What do you mean? Jack's eyes flicked toward the far wall, where the holoscreens displayed distant fleet telemetry. Your systems monitor motion. Our systems monitor intent. A murmur spread. Lyra caught his meaning instantly, though her expression didn't show it. He was signaling that the net was already in place, that Earth wasn't watching the galaxy. It was mapping it. The Emperor's voice hardened. You speak in riddles. Sometimes it's safer than telling the truth, Jack said softly. Later, in the human embassy, the quiet hum of sealed soundproof walls replaced the chaos of the chamber. Lyra removed her translator earpiece, exhaling. You're supposed to keep them uncertain, not petrified. Jack poured himself coffee from the automated brewer, the dark liquid swirling like an event horizon. Fear's more efficient, cuts through bureaucracy. You enjoy this too much. He sipped, eyes on the stars outside the window. Enjoyment implies choice. For a moment, her voice softened. You were never supposed to be the symbol. Jack's reflection in the glass didn't smile this time. Symbols don't ask permission. She looked at him, at the stillness in his posture, the precision of someone built to react faster than emotion could form. Do they know? She asked quietly. He didn't answer. On the far side of the embassy, hidden beneath layers of innocuous administrative code, a command node pulsed. The signal from his biometric implant had seeded something across the galactic network. Not a virus, something older, cleaner, patient. At the same moment, in orbit above the diplomatic moon of Vask, a patrol ship reported an anomaly, 20 unidentified objects drifting at sublight near the system's outer ring. When the report reached the Council's channels, the ships had vanished from sensors. The analysts argued over whether it was a malfunction. The humans didn't respond. By the second day, the galaxy's news cycles had turned Jack into a paradox. The polite predator of Earth, the smiling assassin, the mammal who broke a god. Memes, songs, documentaries, every civilization tried to explain the inexplicable. But none noticed the subtle pattern beneath the noise. Human merchant ships requesting new docking permits near major trade relays. Human satellites, offering communication upgrades. Human cultural channels broadcasting friendly tutorials on first aid, agriculture, and, oddly, encryption. It was infiltration by kindness. Back in the embassy, Lyra received a secure transmission. The encryption key was centuries old, back from Earth's Cold War, something no alien system could read. The message contained 2 words, Baba Yaga active. Her throat tightened. "Jack," she whispered. "What did you just wake up?" He was already looking at her. Insurance. Against what? He turned away, watching the twin suns dip below the horizon. Against curiosity. Across the galaxy, admirals debated preemptive strikes. The Krogan home fleet doubled its patrols. The Varian academic networks released a white paper titled The Terran Paradox. Why Fear Evolves Laughter. No one realized that every system uploading that document was also uploading an invisible packet of Terran code hidden inside. Jack sat alone that night, watching the replay of his fight on loop. The smile on the screen looked foreign now. He could see the exact frame when he shifted from instinct to calculation. A single breath, that was when history changed. The door behind him slid open. Lyra stepped in, coat draped loosely over her shoulders. "They're calling you to testify before the Senate tomorrow," she said. He didn't look up. "They'll ask questions they already know the answers to. Then what will you tell them? The truth. They just won't believe it." He set his cup down and stood, adjusting his collar. The stars beyond the glass flickered faintly. Hundreds of pinpricks, each one a potential battlefield if someone pressed too hard. "They think we're unpredictable," he said. "But we're not. We just plan farther ahead than they can imagine." Lyra's voice softened. "And if they strike first?" Jack looked at her, that faint smile returning like a mask sliding into place. "Then they'll learn why we stopped making war with each other. We ran out of enemies that could survive it." Outside, one of the twin suns flared, painting the sky blood orange. For a brief moment, the embassy glass reflected both the stars and Jack's face. 2 kinds of light, human and deadly. Across the galaxy, the Emperor's advisors whispered of containment fleets, of sending a message to Earth before things spiraled further. They didn't know that every ship in their proposed formation had already been pinged by something invisible, an old Terran handshake code buried in their targeting software. Lyra's communicator vibrated again, an alert from deep space. She read the translation twice, her pulse quickening. The message was brief, clinical, impossible. 3 fleets moving. Human response. Standing by. She turned toward Jack, her voice barely a whisper. "They're going to attack Earth." He nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the twin suns. "Then let's make sure the galaxy learns what 5 minutes can do." And as he spoke, far beyond the embassy, silent ships hidden in the dark between stars stirred awake, old human names glowing faintly on their hulls. Enterprise, Yamato, Ark Royal, Ragnarok. Their systems came online as if roused from a long dream. The smile behind the curtain had teeth. The first minute was silence, the kind that existed before history split in 2. The Emperor's fleet, 500 warships forged in the fires of conquest, hung over Earth like a crown of arrogance. Their hulls glimmered in the sunlight, each bristling with weapons that could level continents. Across the galaxy, every screen streamed the same broadcast, a live feed of the collective's justice. The announcers spoke softly, almost reverently. Humanity has violated the peace. On Earth, the oceans shimmered in eerie calm. Birds went quiet. Traffic froze mid-street. And in one dark command room beneath the Rockies, Commander Jack Cole stood before a wall of screens, hands clasped behind his back, face unreadable. "They've gone live," said Lyra, her voice low, tight. Jack nodded once. "Good. Let everyone see what happens next." At 1:47 Universal Time Coordinated, the Krogan flagship Sovereign Blade fired a warning shot into the Pacific. The ocean boiled for miles. The broadcast caught every second. Anchors gasped. Alien audiences cheered. Earth's surface shimmered with satellite reflections. Calm, almost welcoming. Then Jack raised his wrist, tapped once on his comlink, and said 3 words that would be studied for millennia. "Execute Baba Yaga." The stars blinked. Literally, every human satellite across orbit flashed, synchronized, releasing an invisible pulse that rippled through every alien ship. Lights flickered, engines screamed, targeting systems turned blind. A second later, the fleet's communication grid collapsed in on itself. Command bridges went dark. Lyra whispered, "What did you just do?" Jack didn't turn. "Taught them why you don't poke old ghosts." The Sovereign Blade's captain tried to issue new orders, but the controls responded in English. "Access denied. System reverting to human override." The same phrase appeared across 500 ships. Inside the Krogan council chambers, panic erupted. "They're inside our systems. Shut them down," someone shouted. But it was too late. Every thruster reversed, every targeting node recalibrated. And for the first time in galactic history, an entire fleet bowed its guns toward itself. On the broadcast, the galaxy watched in stunned horror as the collective's armada turned inward, elegant metal giants suddenly trembling like puppets on invisible strings. The Terran emblem, the old Earth seal of the Navy, appeared on every alien screen. Beneath it, one message pulsed: "You threatened one seal. In orbit, a single human ship uncloaked. A relic from Earth's forgotten fleets, angular, scarred, massive. USS Midway, letters still painted in fading white across its hull." The galaxy had dismissed such vessels as myths. Yet here it was, crawling from the void like a ghost from humanity's past. "Is that a museum ship?" Lyra murmured. Jack smiled faintly. "Used to be." At 2:03 Universal Time Coordinated, the Midway's AI activated, voice calm and female. Targeting recalibration complete. Awaiting instruction. "Commander." Jack's reply was quiet. "No destruction. Disable only." Within seconds, beams of invisible radiation swept the alien fleet. Weapons disarmed. Reactors went cold. Ships drifted powerless, caught in the magnetic embrace of Earth's gravity. One by one, they began to fall, not crashing, but descending slowly, like titans kneeling. In the Galactic broadcast tower, commentators spoke over each other in disbelief. They shut them down, without firing a shot. This is impossible. No species could. Correction, Jack's voice cut in across the live feed. No other species could. Every word carried that polite tone again. Measured, conversational, terrifying in its precision. "The thing you call peace was built on obedience," he continued. "Ours was built on understanding what happens when obedience fails." The camera zoomed closer on him. His eyes reflected the glow of the screens, cold and deliberate. "We're not conquerors. We don't want your worlds, your resources, your wars. But we have a rule back home. You hurt one of ours." He let the silence finish the sentence. The audience didn't breathe. Across the galaxy, governments froze communications, unsure whether to surrender or apologize. Lyra leaned closer, her voice trembling. "Jack, this is the part where you stop." He looked at her then, something human flickering behind the steel. "You think I haven't stopped? This is me stopping." Outside, in orbit, the Sovereign Blade disintegrated, not from attack but from systems collapse. A single piece of debris drifted past the camera, glowing with residual plasma. For a heartbeat, it looked almost beautiful. Jack stepped toward the console, pressed a button, and the broadcast shifted. Gone were the images of destruction. Now came the sight of hospitals, schools, families across Earth watching in stunned silence. Humanity, fragile and unarmed, looking back at the stars with quiet defiance. To every world watching, Jack said evenly, understand this. We've had our fill of tyrants. The age of intimidation is over. He glanced at Lyra. You can end the broadcast now. But she didn't move. They'll never forgive us. Jack's voice softened. Forgiveness is optional. Respect isn't. The signal cut to static for a breath before every galactic screen blinked with one final line, written in Terran script. Broadcast terminated by Terran command. In the vacuum above Earth, the alien ships hung motionless, crippled but alive. The human fleet, the Midway and her ghost ships, disappeared as quietly as they had come, fading back into the dark. Lyra stood beside Jack, her voice barely above a whisper. You've just changed everything. He finally looked tired, his hands unclasping. No, he said. We just reminded them who we were. And far beyond the stars, in 1,000 alien war rooms, silence became the new language of fear. Humanity had smiled, and the galaxy finally understood what that meant.